Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
What a piece of junk. What are you talking about?
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. Don't get technical with me.
This bickering is pointless.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
How could you even say that?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, come on. Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Would you get going, you pirate?
Get in there, you big furry-o! I don't care what you smell!
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust.
I like the sound of that.
Get a shuttle ready.
I don't know. Fly casual.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Transmission commencing.
Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in to the Shuttle Tydirium Podcast. I am your host and captain, Jim Chadwick, also known as Hey Chadwick on various forums. I do have sitting next to me here my co-pilot, Phil. How's it going, Phil?
Good. Welcome aboard. I'd like to point out that all of the call attendant buttons on your seats are unfortunately inoperative for this flight. Chief Engineer Jake is not aboard to fix the problem tonight, but we do have our Ewok cabin crew and protocol droid J-Bot working on the problem.
If you do get a mild electric shock from hitting the button, that is just side coincidence. We did not tamper to do that, as far as I know.
Right, I'm sure this is actually just a coincidence that all these buttons aren't working.
Right. All right, and we have J-Bot, our cranky protocol droid. How you doing, J-Bot?
I'm doing pretty good. Just remember, mild is a relative term for those electric shocks you're going to be getting. So I would suggest keeping your hands off the buttons as much as possible because we're not engineers, and we do the best we can when our engineer's not here.
Right. You don't know anything about the shock treatment for those buttons, do you?
Why would you say that?
All right, excellent. Well, I've got a captain's question tonight, so it deals with HotAC. Because I actually got some games in tonight at home since I still can't drive and such from the surgery and back to tank, all the medicine. So, just a quick question: what are your guys' favorite starter ship? Do you prefer the X-wing or Y-wing? And is that the ship that you want to stick with, or do you prefer to delve into a different ship later on? So Phil, about we go to you.
I do kind of like to start with the Y-wing, just because I like to stock it with proton torpedoes, and I kind of like the punch that they give you early on in the game.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
and do you like to stick with the Y-wing, and you want to move into something else later on?
I think I would probably move into B-wings most of the time.
Okay. Gotta have a laser cannon and all that, huh?
Right, have the early game punch and have more punch in the later game too.
Just punchy all around.
Yeah.
All right, J-Bot, what do you prefer?
Well, at least I want to say 2 out of the 3 ships that I've created are Y-wings. With the general intent was to go into a Hawk later, so they have enough commonality between the turrets and things that they kind of sync well together. But I did have a lot of fun playing the X-wing and just kind of throwing caution to the wind and playing very counter to how I normally do, which is, I don't normally do fast and loose and just, blaze ahead. But I do think that was fun. I think if I created another one, I would go with an X-wing just because it's not so much different. There's obviously only 2 ships to start with, but just because it's so different from my normal kind of 100-point deathmatch play style that it's even more refreshing, I guess, than the HotAC normally is. But
yeah, I'll say I've made 3 characters, and my first was a Y-wing loaded with ordnance. That was, I didn't even get a turret. I had 2 ordnance. It was my first starting off, and I like it. I like him, Warhead. He's pretty cool. But I have to admit, I like the X-Wing. It's something about, just it being an X-Wing, and that's what the game's about. It's a wave one ship and kind of flying around, and it's quick, it's fast, it can blast things. I do happen to like the X-Wing, and I stick with it. I do want to, once Wave 9 hits the stores for us non-Gen Con people, I do want to try an ARC 170. I think that'd be kind of cool. I think the dual arcs and all that. I'm looking forward to trying that, but need for them to actually come out. So yeah,
cool,
excellent. Well, I think we should probably go into something I want to talk about. I kind of want to talk about the
Heroes of the Aturi Cluster.
All right, so I got a game in tonight. I was pretty happy. I got to play with my son, my 11-year-old son, and one of my good friends, Nathaniel, who's not a major X-Wing player. He's played some, and he knows the mechanics, but he doesn't really know the cards and all that. He knows even less than you, J-Bot.
Wow, he's really a beginner then. Holy crikey.
Yeah, and we just played the intro game. And we had a lot of fun, though. I got to a point, I had 3 TIE fighters shooting at me, and I was down to 1 hole in my integrated astromech, and down to that last shot, and I managed to pull off an evade, to knock off that 1 hit, and it was pretty close tonight. It was pretty fun, but overall, I was trying to think about different builds for the game that maybe didn't use Predator, or something interesting, or something that's not necessarily great for the regular game. That would be good. And I was thinking, a lot of times I find with the X-Wings, people position for a round, but then they find out they're in a bad spot. They've got to spend like a round just turning around, either doing that K-turn or doing that sharp turn, and they're going to try to come in around next round. And I really started thinking about how that happens. And I was looking at Lightning Reflex, and that's just like a one-time use, and I don't quite like. Right. But then I was looking at Daredevil. And actually, with Daredevil, if you get engine upgrade, you get boost, and you can use Daredevil.
Right.
And what that does, and I have since learned, since I thought of this, I posted in the FFG forums, that it's been errated. But the card says, as an action, you can do a 1 sharp turn as a red move. And since I'm making this character up for my home campaign with, a noob and my son who's 11, and we're not using errata, we're just going to use the freaking printed cards. And I wanted to go with so my idea is go with Daredevil, engine upgrade, and Daredevil, and then take targeting astromech, because when you do a red maneuver, you get a free target lock. And so, how many times could I just you do your you do your move, and then boom, you do a 90-degree turn,
target lock.
And then target lock. So you're completely facing a different direction, and you've got a target lock, and maybe instead of spending a turn where you're freaking, going who knows where, boom, boom, you're in a prime spot and you got a shot. Or you got something behind you. You can do like a 2 hard turn and then boom, a 1 hard turn, and you're doing a 180, and you've got a target lock. So I thought about this and the Daredevil build, and I think I haven't got to try. We just did our first mission, and I was 1 point short of the upgrades to get them all, with all my builds. But I think it's kind of cool. I think it's like a neat idea to do the maneuverability instead.
Yeah, I think most people go for something more offensive or regenerative in their builds. But the maneuverability is really important. Especially in a ship like the X-Wing, where it's maybe not going to be able to take so many hits, and there isn't a whole lot of out-of-arc potential there, same way that you have with a turret and a Y-Wing.
Well, what I'm curious is, are you planning on kind of adding on to that general idea of making them very maneuverable down the line, I guess, with future upgrades on that ship?
Yeah,
because there's that, and I obviously don't know the name of it, but the modification that we see coming down that gives you the barrel roll, for example.
Right, vectored
something
thrusters.
else. Yeah, something else that the X-wing doesn't have at the moment. Give you that chance to. Now you've got. Oh, I can barrel roll if you're able to push the limit and do all these other things on top of it, for example.
Well, I do know one combo I found with Warhead, my Y-wing, was with targeting astromech. Hobby's ability as an EPT. His ability is when you gain or spend a target lock, you remove one stress. So basically, I can do a move. I can do a sharp turn. It's red. I get the stress.
Right.
I get the target lock. It removes the stress, and then I'm totally set up for next round. Because the only downside so far is that it sets me up with a green. I got to do a green maneuver, and without R2, there's only so many green maneuvers. But still, it's. I don't think it'll be too bad. And I do think
that sounds interesting.
Yeah, for various and so like you were saying, Phil, with the people go for offense. But I was thinking though that you can dump your points in offense, but if you don't have a shot for a turn, you're wasting those points.
Right.
So is it better to spend points so you've got a shot every turn, or is it, on those turns when you shoot, you're really good? So
right. Also, it that sort of maneuverability is also defensive.
Yeah.
It helps both ways, or can anyway.
Yeah, and so for modification, I haven't even really thought about it too much because I probably would want to go with like a shield upgrade because without any type of regen ability, going for some sort of upgrade where I can, survive a little bit longer and possibly vectored thrusters, could help out.
Yeah, but putting engine upgrade lets you put auto thrusters on there too, doesn't it? So you can technically auto thruster, vectored thruster, just a thruster ship essentially with. You're not really a ship; you're just a cockpit with thrusters all over it to fly through space. But you'd be super maneuverable. The maneuvers themselves. You're basically building an arc dodger out of the X-wing, and all those cars just kind of compound on top of it.
The way I see it, like I could do a defensive, and I don't know if I'd go with vectored thrusters, but I do like auto thrusters. I hadn't even thought that far. It's just something that hit me today, and I don't necessarily consider it more of a arc dodger, but more of a arc getter. And then the idea is just to be able to get that arc on someone, to be able to have that shot, and then you've got the target lock. So if once I get it all set, I'll be boom, do the red move, have the target lock, end someone in shot, and boom, I can fire.
I'm not even sure auto thrusters are a good idea in Heroes of the Aturi Cluster because you never run into turreted ships except for one or two missions.
No, but there are range 3 shots.
Yeah, but those, is it really better? Is really good idea to have auto thrusters or something else in that mod slot at that point? I took at least 2 hits at range 3 tonight, so it would have been better to have the auto thrusters for me than a shield upgrade. So I don't know. It'd be neat to try.
It certainly sounds intriguing. So I'd like to see it on the table sometime.
I could also probably go with the A-wing if I wanted to go that route.
Yeah.
Because I could then
lose out on your attack power a little bit.
Yeah, like if I'd have to then go maybe outmaneuver instead, but they kind of try to reduce their defensive ability. But that's it's a thought. So I could go with like an A-wing as opposed to sticking with it. But I kind of like the idea of sticking with the X-wing, but making it kind of more maneuverable and getting things more in arc and blasting things. So yeah. So. I'm looking forward to that. So my character's name is Burnout because
nice.
someone on the forums I was saying it like, I wasn't sure what to do, and they were saying, you got to pick a name that first started off as an insult but then got turned into he flipped it around and turned it into his call sign. So maybe called me Burnout, or I burnt out an engine or something, and boom. So I like it. Cool. All right.
Nice.
Another thing, just in general, I was thinking about that could work in Here's the Aturi Cluster is expose. Like if you do expose right, you could. If you've got all the various upgrades and multiple things, like you've got Predator and Expose, like you could use the expose, your action, but then you've got Predator for the reroll.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with expose is that you always, in order for it to be worth the points in the normal game, you need to have. I mean, it's almost impossible, like mathematically, to make it better than Predator or something like that. But here's a Aturi Cluster, you can layer these abilities on top of each other so much that it might be worthwhile. Also, you might have a better idea of who is going to get shot and who's not, right?
Right, because
So
they auto shoot.
Right, so if you're in a formation with a Y-wing in the front and an X-wing in the back, and you're facing off against 4 ties that are in front of you, they're all going to shoot the Y-wing, and you know that.
Yeah.
So losing the agility from expose doesn't matter.
Right, not as much of a deal, and gaining that extra attack, is pretty cool.
It can be better. Yeah, I think for it to be better than just a normal like focus or target lock action would normally be, I think you need another layer of modification to really actually make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, mathematically, it's just better to just have a focus than to roll an extra die once you are rolling more than 2 dice, essentially.
And there is the possibility if you were able to grab a target lock one round, or if you've got like push the limit or something else. But most of the time, you'll be getting 2 extra rerolls with Predator, and maybe it's actually a good thing to put onto an A-wing.
Yeah.
Because if you're going on an A-wing and you're getting out of the firing arcs because you've got that, and you know who's going to get shot at, and and you've already got the low thing, and you've got Predator, so if you're bumping it, so you're getting 3 dice, re-rolling 2 most of the time. That's pretty potent. That can be pretty good.
Yeah. Could be. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a thought. Or maybe you can go push the limit, expose. So you could do like a focus expose or something along those lines. But I don't know, even with 3 dice, you're bumping to 3 dice and you're getting 2 rerolls. That almost seems enough
that's
right
pretty
there.
Solid. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So expose on an A-wing might be a good thing. And then go for outmaneuver. Expose, outmaneuver. You're reducing their agility and you're getting
right.
That can be pretty good. Excellent.
Yeah,
So those are some here's the Aturi Cluster HotAC thoughts that I just kind of had.
Nice.
And I know you've been doing the CR90 campaign on Vassal.
Right. So I talked about this in an earlier episode, but I'm taking part in a continuing CR90 campaign. So this uses the FFG made campaign that comes with the CR90. I think the campaign's called Point of No Return. And
hey, isn't that a movie from the 80s or 90s?
Probably, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one there somewhere if I dig hard enough.
Yeah. Basically, it's telling the story of like a Corellian Corvette that gets sort of pushed into the orbit of the Rebel Alliance by the Empire, sort of being too aggressive. And there's, I think, 4 missions. Yeah, there's 4 missions in the campaign that you will play. And two of those have like an Imperial version and a Rebel version. So there's there's 6 missions total in the campaign packet, but you only play 4. And it has like a simple little branching mechanism to it. So I won the first game, which was just a few TIE fighters attacking a Corvette, and all you have to do is cripple one of the Corvette sections if you're the Imperial, and if you're the Rebel. Yeah, I was the Imperial for that mission.
And you were the only Imperial to get a victory there.
That is correct. So,
all right,
I have a reputation to uphold.
All right,
as a scenario expert, so I figured that I should probably win that one. We had I had my second game, and I'm playing Mega Silver. It goes by, that's his name on the FFG forums. I guess that's his standard his handle. This is actually I had no idea who Mega Silver was when I started this campaign. So
I think I've seen the name, but go on.
Yeah, the thing is that actually later on, I think after the first mission, he was on one of the other podcasts, and he had gotten to like second or third in nationals or regionals. So it's like, oh crap, better be careful.
Right.
So that made things a little more interesting for Mission 2. Mission 2, which I played the other day, is there's two versions of Mission 2, right? So there's the version that you go to if the Rebels win, and there's a version that you go to if the Imperials win, and that's the one I was doing. So the version of the mission if the Imperials win is the Corvette is it's in the middle of a 6x3 map, right? And it's sort of powering up. So for the first couple turns, it doesn't put down a dial. And it also has its shields down, and it has a critical hit applied to whichever section you crippled in the first mission.
Yeah.
So, and it's facing the other long edge of the map. So that's a pretty bad situation to be in.
Was he got to get off the board?
Right. I think he has to fly off the board to win.
Okay.
So, that could be pretty rough.
Yeah.
Just in general. Then the Imperial. So he also gets a few fighters to go with that. I think the Rebel player gets like 75 points or so that he can spend on a small squad. And they deploy close to the Corvette. The mission is called Emergency Repairs, right?
Yeah, sounds it.
Now, the Imperial player gets Captain Jonas with a proton bomb and squad leader, which is, obviously the best Jonas that you could possibly get.
Right.
It's pretty bad, but, whatever, this mission is kind of old. And did I mention squad leader? Yeah.
Yeah, Jonas and squad leader.
You did.
Yeah. Okay, so, awesome.
So he gives what? Probably nobody else in the list has a secondary weapon, and you've got Jonas, who
Yeah.
Captain
Well,
Jonas.
the thing is that you get Jonas with the proton bomb and 100 squad points to build with, right? So
okay,
you could build. One of my options was to build with missiles and torpedoes and try and leverage Jonas to pump those up. Another special rule of the mission is that bombs do double damage when they explode on the Corvette.
Oh, holy crap!
So
yeah,
I could have also one of the lists that I played around with was like a whole bunch of bombers that fly in it and just drop a ton of proton bombs around the Corvette. Because if you get like 4 bombs on either section, then that section
is dead.
It's done. There's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
But
if you can drop a bomb in between both sections, in range one of both sections. Will it be if it's like a seismic and it hits everything in range 1 and both sides are in range 1?
No, I think there's it's part of the epic rules. I think that it only affects one section.
Okay.
So that's another list that I considered. Just a whole bunch of bombers with proton bombs to punch through the shields if they had any shields up by that time. But the list that I ended up going with was a sort of a TIE swarm, and it was a TIE swarm that was designed to be able to be split into 2 parts, because the Imperial deployment zones are at the short edges of this 6x3 map, right? So the Corvette's in the middle with the Rebel fighters, and the Imperials can deploy along both the short edges.
Yeah.
So this is actually a really advantageous starting position for you, because as the Imperial player, attacking a huge ship which needs to flee off of the other long edge, it's almost like a perfect attack setup.
Yeah.
Because whenever you're attacking a huge ship, an epic ship, what you always want to be trying to do is getting both of that ship's sections in the firing arcs of your ships. If not, so you pretty much want to get like a side. You want to have a flank attack on it.
If you've got
that midline.
Yeah, if you can attack like either section that you want to, they've got to put the reinforced token down.
Right.
When you've got TIE fighters and you're to attack that ship, that reinforced token's a big deal. So,
right.
If they put it in the front and you can attack the back, hey, you go for it.
Yeah, forcing the other guy to make a bad decision with his reinforced token or where he's recovering shields is just great whenever you can pull it off in epic. And this mission does not make it difficult. So that was my plan. So I had 7 ties total. Most of them were Obsidian Squadron pilots, so that's the pilot skill 3 tie, which I chose because I was hoping that Mega Silver would put down a whole bunch of pilot skill 2 ships.
Rookies, yeah.
Yeah, rookies or Bandit Squadron C-95s, and I would hopefully get the pilot skill advantage on them. So I had 5 of those, and then Youngster with Rage. So Youngster is a unique TIE fighter whose ability is that other TIE fighters around him can use his ability if it has an action header.
Yeah.
So Rage is a action ability. It's like action. You give yourself 2 stress tokens, a focus token, and then you can reroll up to 2 or 3 attack dice, which is more than enough for a TIE fighter.
Oh yeah,
so it turns them to they become really potent for that turn. They've got to spend a couple turns taking those stress tokens off.
Yeah, but better than Hellrunner.
Yeah, it's better than Hellrunner
for one turn.
Yeah. So the idea there was to pop that when I got into range 1 and just blow away whatever section I was facing.
Yeah, that'd be 3 attack dice, re-rolling 2. You get a focus. You can either use the attack or defense. Yeah.
If you're a range 1 with a TIE fighter, that should be 3 hits.
Yeah.
And then the last TIE fighter that I had was Hellrunner, which makes a lot, of course. Why not? Right. So I ended up doing a split deployment, putting half on the top, half on the bottom, and that's partly because Mega Silver had, I think, 4 Tala Squadron Z95s. Maybe it was even 5. He had a bunch of Tala Squadron Z95s and Lieutenant Blount with an assault missile and Deadeye.
Oh.
So
yeah, he was thinking you were going to maximize on Jonas and try to all cluster together.
Yeah, he said that he was anticipating that I would take some kind of swarm, which is a good guess on his part.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I did. So flying all those ships together was essentially just not a real option for me because I would definitely have lost some ships on the way in. Like 2 or 3 probably, and you would have been able to do a lot of damage with that assault missile if they were all together. So
yeah, absolutely. The automatic hit, that's
right.
Useless.
I figured that. Boom. Yeah, exactly. I figured that he was going to spend the assault missile trying to kill Hellrunner, so I put Hellrunner on the top with 2 TIE fighters and Youngster on the bottom with 3.
Yeah, and where was Jonas?
Jonas was sort of off to the side. So he was on the top, and he was off to the right, and his flight path was to sort of cross a T on the Corvette as it's making its way towards the escape edge.
Yeah.
Drop the proton bomb on its 4 section.
Wait, did it have a proton bomb or a proton missile or ion missile?
Proton bomb.
Oh, proton bomb. Oh, yeah, that's nasty.
Right. So that would be 2 crits.
Oh, yeah.
2 face-up damage cards, not 2 critical damage or anything.
And if anybody doesn't know, critical hits in Epic are...
They're pretty nasty.
They're epic.
Really nasty. Yeah.
I mean, it can win you the game. Like 1 crit, boom, that's it, Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So how the game played out pretty cleanly for me. I did end up losing Howlrunner, but I managed to take out Lieutenant Blount at the top, and I even managed to get a shot at the Corvette with Howlrunner before she died.
Excellent.
So I consider that a success.
Very cool.
I got blocked a little bit on the bottom, but eventually I got all my ties in at pretty close range, and I was able to take out one of the sections of the Corvette. The Mega Silver had because the Corvette starts with all its shields down in this mission.
Right.
Really sucks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's killer for that thing.
So he had spent the first 2 turns recovering shields in the aft section, which is a section that had a critical damage from the previous mission on top of everything. But I managed to get angles to shoot at the fore section, which was unshielded at that point, and I crippled that in 2 turns. So
the rage work well?
Pretty quick. Actually, I never even used rage. I should have used it on the second turn that I was firing on the Corvette.
Yeah, I think even at range 2 it'd be worth it,
Right. I was actually because I was worried that Youngster would be taken out that turn. But they weren't, because my ties were mostly not range 1. But
okay.
I think it would have been smart for me. And Mega Silver actually played a really good game. He did a lot of really good blocking that messed up my attack approach on the bottom. I mean, frankly, the game could have been over turn 2. Because you can get the ties into range 3 on turn 2.
Yeah, zipping fast on
and
a 5.
If that Corvette doesn't have any shields up on one of its sections, and it has like 6 or 7 ties shooting at it,
yeah,
you can definitely lose a section in 1 turn like that. But you did a good job protecting it. But I think the mission is really stacked in the Imperial's favor, frankly.
How did it go for the rest of the people? Do you know? More rebels?
I have no idea yet, and they're all playing different missions than me.
Gotcha.
But I think one of those missions has been played, and by the time this podcast goes up, that summary will probably be up on Muon's thread, on his blog thread on Team Covenant, if you want to check it out.
Now, we probably shouldn't have gone too much into the actual plot of it, because we are going to actually do the CR90 campaign. I think that's going to be one of our next major threads. So, hopefully next time we won't go too much in detail about the story.
Yeah, it's just going to spoil it for us. God, good job.
Right. But it sounds really cool. Did you get the bomb off? I
didn't get a chance to, no.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah, you didn't need it, is what it sounds like. It was just there for insurance.
Right.
Yeah, it still sounds pretty cool. All right, cool. All right, so let's see. Did we want to go into the news?
Yeah. I actually asked Jbot to get us some printouts of the latest FFG preview article. Jbot, you have those?
Why the hell would I bring you your stupid printouts?
No, I'm giving you an order, Jbot, as your co-pilot crew member over you. Bring those printouts.
So get your own printouts. They're right over there.
Is he feeling it?
Wait,
Jim,
what?
Can you check on his?
What is that on the ground next to his feet? Is that his restraining bolt?
Lou, you will go to the Dagobah system.
But I was going into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
Lou, go to the Dagobah system.
It just isn't fair.
No, I don't even know what I'm doing here. We're wasting our time.
Your insight serves you well.
God damn, not again.
Ah, jeez.
How does that
Gonk,
always come
what
loose?
have you been doing, Gonk? I know you've been helping him. J-Bot,
what are you talking about?
All right.
What are you talking about?
Just calm down. Sit there. Just go ahead and sit down. Here, maybe we should put a video for you.
You see, I was looking over these printouts I found over here that somebody left, and they started to make me a little concerned, to be perfectly honest with you. You see, this new news article that you guys are so interested in discussing has in it a ship that we're probably all familiar with, one that's come out before. And that's not really what got me mad. It's more what it kind of sparked in me, which is, could FFG please stop making bigger and bigger and bigger ships, because they're starting to take up more and more and more space in my life. I thought it was okay. The old kind of pancake of the Millennium Falcon. It's big, but it still kind of fits. It almost fits on its little square base. But the latest stuff they're coming out with, it's a batarang, for crying out loud. It's got what looks like in the picture 2-foot long wings that stick out the side. And then we throw in the Ghost, and you've got all these other crazy looking ships like the Houndstooth. I mean, whoever the hell designed the Houndstooth needs to be shot, because that's not a spaceship. That's just like the spaceship a kid drew and then crumpled it up and threw it in the garbage, because that's about the shape it's got. It's a nice straight ship with wings that stick out. What? Okay. So what bugs me is the original ships that you get in the game. If you look back at all of your little starter sets, it's a nice kind of squarish box, right? It's got a nice size. So a TIE fighter is basically the same kind of general dimensions as an X-Wing. That standardization, I'm fairly certain the Imperium was built on it. Like that's what big machinery and military might type of people like to do. One pattern, they all fit in the same docking bay, they all fit in the same storage container, and then all of the stuff that the rebels fly tend to, kind of follow a general pattern as well. But now we're starting to get all this stuff, and I know the scum is at the heart of this, but it's starting to drag into everything else. Now I've got a K-Wing, and I love the K-Wing. You guys know I love a K-Wing, but it's twice, maybe 3 times the size of the base that it sits on. Why is that not on a big base? Why is it on a little base? I don't understand. None of this makes sense.
Base.
Or exactly a medium base.
God, we're not going to start the medium base thing again. Because that's where I get confused every time I read a card and it says large ship only. So I look around, and what does the first thing that comes to my mind is a large ship? Maybe a CR-90 or a Raider or something. That's a large ship. When I think huge ship, just that general term huge, I think Star Destroyer. I think I'm going to just have the corner of it. I'm not going to get the whole ship because it's a huge ship. Okay. But in general, yes. I'm not going to get into the whole medium bases and all those stuff, because I know that would just destroy this game. That's because the game's not complicated and we don't want it to be complicated. So adding a third type of base into the general game might confuse a few people. So I don't want to do that. I just don't understand why every ship that comes out, because there's no scale. We've thrown the scale out the window. So why can't they all just have at least a relatively small, compact shape so that they fit inside stuff, so that they can be carried, so that I don't need a rolling suitcase to get all of my ships to the store? Because I've actually gotten to the point where, that Ghost, I really like it, but it doesn't fit anywhere. It's twice the size of a Millennium Falcon, and the Falcon barely fits in my case. So if it's thicker than the Falcon, it's not going to fit into my storage case. And if it doesn't fit in my storage case, I'm not going to carry it to the game store. And if I'm not carrying it to the game store, I'm not going to buy it. That's just how it works, because it's never going to get played. It's just annoying. It's just a large ship that they're doing for fanboys. Like, hey, look, this is a ship that's even bigger than the last one. Ooh, big. And I don't know. It just bugs me, I guess. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that sees it. But when I see them come out with a new ship, and I hate to call the Millennium Falcon a new ship, but it has a different radar dish on it. It's got a new dish. Yeah, it's a new ship.
It's officially a different ship from the last one. In fact, I'm surprised that they didn't essentially retcon the first one to say that you can't use the Falcon title on the first one. You can only use it on this one. But that's neither. Maybe it is. Maybe it's in all these. Maybe it's in this news release here. But I just want them to kind of standardize, get a little bit more realistic in the shapes and the sizes of these ships, because the U-boat, I had to call it U-boat, I'm sorry, the U-wing, the U-wing looks really neat, except for the fact that it now has wings that stick like an extra inch and a half beyond the actual shape of the ship.
Oh, but those are detachable at least. At least they learned.
Are you sure they're detachable and not just foldable? Because they look like they just fold up and back when I look at the box.
Well, if you look at the box, I don't see them, so I don't know.
They're there. If you look at the box closely, they're folded forward.
Well, okay, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. They're basically twice the size of the ship, and I think all they did was fold them forward. So yeah, the ship's not tall, but now it's long. It doesn't fit anywhere. So either I'm going to have to massage the wings out to a certain angle so they fit into the nice square boxes I have, or actually detach them if they're not detachable. So maybe this is where I have to get into Jim's realm of magnets and hot glue and everything else so that I can bring my ships in my cases and then bring them, assemble them at the store. And this kind of ties into another problem I have. And that is that the bases, I know we've all got in this whole, I'm not getting the medium, large base size thing. The bases don't hold the ships anymore. That's how you know these things are too big. It used to be like the Falcon had one little peg, or a two-tiered peg, but it was one little peg basically that held it up. Now what does the Ghost have? Anybody? It's got three. It needs a tripod to hold the stupid thing up. And when I go to the store, you know what I see people flying Ghosts actually have? I'm sitting there in the store one day, and a guy pulls out a drill, a hand drill, and he's through the top of his Ghost. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's building a base for it because it won't stand up on the base that Fantasy Flight gave it. So he's got a long metal rod. He's run through the top of the ship into the base so that it'll stay stable, so that it won't flip over, it won't roll over, because it's too big. We've reached the limit, Fantasy Flight. Dial it back a little bit. Let's go in and get some of the smaller ships, or maybe, save the planet a little bit by not using as much plastic. Dial them back a little bit. I don't think anyone's going to care because the scale is already bad. But if we're having to resort to, our own solutions, hot glue, giant metal bars, and screws and all sorts of other widgets just to keep these stupid ships from teetering and falling over on the table, that's a problem. And that's a problem Fantasy Flight needs to address because, quite frankly, I think it's going to destroy this game. It really is. So that's just my thought, just my concern. Hopefully somebody out there from Fantasy Flight's listening and can, make good on these problems that I'm seeing, and before they become a problem for everybody else. I like to be kind of front and leading the charge when it comes to these sorts of things. Even if I don't always have people following me.
It actually, I just got a solution for it, but for the longest time, I totally agree with large base ships. I didn't have a place for them. I've got the Plano 1374, and my top was taken up with all my upgrade cards, and I just didn't have a place for all my large ships. I just couldn't fit them in. I've got 4 trays, of stuff, but I've got 50 ships, 50 small base ships, and just where do you freaking fit, all the large based ones? And I've got 2 bags. I've got a giant black duffel bag that carries all my epic and my large based, and then I've got my Plano 1374, and then I've got my map rolled up with a cheap yoga roll shoulder strap duct tape to it. And I'm not. If I go in crutches, I'm not sure how I'm actually going to manage it in the game.
Well, I mean, if you look at the most recent kind of ship news releases, look at the quad jumper. I know it might not be the most pretty ship, but you know what it is? It fits on its base. It's like the perfect. It doesn't stick out all over the place. And then you look at it next to the Upsilon class shuttle.
Yeah, that thing definitely going to be tough to store.
That thing might as well not have a base. There's no point, and we already have issues where people have to have, I know personally when I fly my K-Wings, I have one on 2 stands and one on 3 stands because it's the only way they can fly next to each other in formation without cutting the other's wings off. So I have to fly them on bigger and bigger bases. And you see half the tables at the store now where one ship's just lying over the side because they can't fly them. They're too big. They don't fit on the table together. I don't know. I feel like it's getting out of hand, and the newer shuttles and stuff. I mean, my goodness, that they even the picture, the art that they show on this news article, it's a good range, a good one space from the ship next to it, and it's still hovering. Its wings are over that when it would be over another ship on the other side of it. It's at least 3 bases wide, if not 4 or 5 bases wide when you have the wings out.
It is pretty crazy.
And maybe it's a scale, maybe it's perspective, and we'll get it. And you're like, wow, what happened to the ship? It's like it got shrunk in the wash. But I have a feeling that they're just going to get worse.
That's why I really want to be able to afford to magnetize it. Like you get a little metal ball bearing, and then you get these magnets, rare earth magnets that are like a ring or like a nut, basically.
All right.
And I know people have the exact sizes and all that, but you can at the top of your peg, you put the metal ball bearing, and then you put the magnet glued to the bottom of your ship, and you can slide it around, it being a ball with a ring. And so I've seen people, be able to tilt their like decimator pointing straight up just so you can actually fit it, all the ships in next to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to get to the point where those magnets aren't even going to hold the stupid thing on there. It's so big.
Yeah. Well, one day I'd love to see the hollow board where you've got your base, and then your base actually has your graphic, displays your graphic of your ship above it. And then or even it's just like you put the chip in, and it's like, oh, I move it 3 straight. No nudging, no nothing. It goes boop, 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 and it moves your ship
if
for
we can
you.
get the no nudging, I'm in. I'm all in, because the Swede, as we like to call Jim at the local game shop, is the nudge master. In fact, Jim, I want you to take a picture of the bottom of one of your bases and post it on the Facebook page, because people don't believe me when I'm like, there's a washer, there's door stops, there's he might have hot glue. I mean, there's so much crap on there that when we play a game of HotAC, like I go to pick the ship up and I'm like, God, I just came back from the gym. My arms are killing me. I can't lift these things up. There's so much weight on them. That's why you're having trouble getting your stuff into the store, Jim. It's because you've added 30 pounds of washers and.
Well, I don't do the washers anymore. Washers were the first attempt to try to, keep it from being nudged. But then when you pick up the Mini, it all falls apart and it's too heavy. So I have since abandoned the washer, though there's still some washers in some of my Minis. But I go with just the bumpers, the kitchen cabinet bumpers, and those are far superior.
They still don't help.
They do help. No, trust me, because when I try to use...
I'm sorry. Let me
they don't help me with nudging.
They help. They don't prevent.
Yeah, I am terrible with nudging.
They keep them. I mean, I'm telling you, some of those games you play with Jim, it looked like a game of. It might as well have been played on like an air hockey table, because you're like, I'm going to move this, and you're like, how did my ship end up way the hell over there?
It's not that bad. I can be bad, but I'm not.
Am I in range 3? You're like, you're it's a range 3 shot, and then
let me test it now.
Jim will fire. It's like, oh, there's range 2 shot for me. What? We just measured it like 2 seconds ago. How did that happen? Like,
I'm a little bad, but I'm okay. I'm bad, but I'm not like that.
Notorious.
Crazy.
He's a notorious bump.
I would warn people when I go to tournaments. When I went to tournaments, I'd be like, look, I just want to let you know, I'm not trying to cheat in any form or fashion. I am a total sloppy bastard. And if you think I nudge this at all, it's totally just by accident. Please point out if you think I'm cheating or nudging at all, because I'm just utterly incompetent. So, yeah. Oh, but, hey, J-Bot, look over there for a sec. See it over that flashing light?
Ooh, flashy.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. Thank goodness Jay keeps an extra restraining bolt under his seat.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done.
So get that restraining bolt. How you feeling, J-Bot?
I'm good. Here are your copies.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. Oh, I appreciate that.
Why is everybody looking at me so weird?
So we have the news article that just came out. So the title is "The Garbage Will Do." A preview of the Heroes of the Resistance expansion for X-Wing, with the particular quote saying, "What about that ship? That one's garbage." So
yeah, that's one of the better quotes that came out of episode 7, I think.
Yes. So I have to say, seeing things typed up about this and subjects in the forums has been maddening because it's hot R. And I keep seeing hot, I think AC, but it's hot R. I'm like, oh, wrong product, wrong subject matter. So, yeah. So, Phil, you want to tell us what's in this particular? We kind of talked about it before, but
so this is the expansion with the Millennium Falcon and the T-70 version 2 of both. So the Falcon has the square radar dish, the new movie, and the T-70 is Poe Dameron's black and orange with BB-8 riding in the back.
Yeah, so all those people who spent all that money custom painting your thing, you can now actually get one just like it without having to do anything.
Yeah, I think we all saw this coming, but
right. Yeah. So we already knew a lot about this ship, but there have been a few more things that have actually been released about it. So Ray we knew, and Ray was when attacking or defending, and if your enemy ship is inside your firing arc, you may reroll up to 2 of your blank results. So that deals with offense or defense, and is pretty cool. And I liked it for the ability just because it was in your firing arc. And so once again, brings back the idea of jousting and not these fat turrets that are just boosting out of your firing arc and just making for a generally not fun game.
Right. It's a good ability for a large turreted ship. We did already know about that one though. So one of the things, but I'd say that the card, if we're going to hit on anything, we should hit on the most controversial card that came out of this pack, which is the Finn crew upgrade. So Finn is rebel only when attacking with a primary weapon or defending. If the primary ship is inside your firing arc, you may add 1 blank result to your roll. 5 points.
Yeah.
So, it by itself and with nothing else, the card is 5 points down the drain, right?
Well, I don't know, because you can re-roll it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I was curious.
By itself,
can you re-roll that?
You absolutely can re-roll it. You can do stuff with it. But if you put this on like a generic pilot, for example, the best you could do is re-roll that blank result with the target lock. Right? For 5 points.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So whatever you do with this card, you need to have something helping you, right? That said, having an extra die result every time, if the enemy is in arc, can be good if you have stuff to modify that die. So we just talked about Ray. Ray actually works really, really well with Finn.
Yeah.
Because Ray wants to keep stuff in her arc because she gets the rerolls. And the rerolls help make Finn's extra blank result worth something.
Right, can reroll it for free.
Exactly. So there are builds out there that that people have come up with that really take advantage of this, and there's some talk of a Ray Falcon plus Finn crew plus other stuff. I'm not sure exactly what else goes into that build, but it can be leveraged to be powerful, which is interesting.
And particularly because that'll boost the Falcon's agility by 1, so you've got 2.
Right.
Then Ray can reroll both of those, and that's pretty good. That's
right. And the new Falcon title gives it the ability to do a 3 sloop when you want it to.
Right. So
helps both this.
Let's just kind of go over the title. What it does. It's the new Millennium Falcon. After you execute a 3-speed bank maneuver, if you are not touching another ship and are not stressed, you can receive a stress and then rotate it 180. So it's pretty cool that you can wait until you're moved to decide whether you want to do it. But then you can do a flip, and that's pretty good, particularly if you want someone in your firing arc.
That's huge, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really cool. I like that a lot. So yeah, so I think Finn and Rey, they're power couple.
Definitely.
Right. Don't they mix the names? She just call them Faye. I don't know.
Rin?
Rafin? Anyways. Yeah. But that is, like, those two together is pretty darn cool. And even if you wanted to, with the old Falcon title, you might be able to kind of get the whole evade action in there. So you could do, like, do one of these, get an evade, and you're re-rolling 2 green dice. That's kind of scary right there with the Falcon for survivability.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. On its surface, I don't really see it as that bad of a card. I obviously stay away from the forums as much as possible, but I don't. I guess I can sort of understand why people might have a lot of venom for it, but in general, I mean, Palpatine is 2 crew slots and 8 points, and he's not giving you a die on everything. He just lets you kind of basically adjust 1 die roll every turn.
Palpatine he's worth so much more than 8 points. So
you think so?
In many of his applications, yeah, definitely.
But I
how
think
much is
that
it?
Sort of thing
I mean,
this.
how much is it worth to? How much is 1 hull on Suntir Fell worth?
Right. No, I'm not saying it's not
8.
worth it. I'm not saying it's not worth it. What I'm saying is, like, I can see where Finn at 5 points is worth just as much in a well-built list as Palpatine can be in that list.
I think it'd be a stretch, but
well, okay, I think I'm not even going to go into like as to what levels, like if as good as Palpatine or not, but I think that there are things you can do to make it worthwhile, besides just on with Rey. Like if you look at, I don't know, the Arc 170, which has got 2 firing arcs. You've got a front and rear firing arc, so, and it works for defense as well. You get the extra, die result. I think that there's things you can do.
That said, it's harder to find rerolls on defense. You essentially need like elusiveness, which kind of sucks, or lone wolf, which can be good, but limits the way you fly the rest of your list.
Or auto thrusters, and how you're going to get auto thrusters on, like the Arc 170. Though if you're talking about HotAC, you could go ahead and put Finn on and put engine upgrade, and then boom, auto thrusters, and basically he's adding in a free evade every time. If it's at range 3.
It could be interesting there. Might have some interesting applications.
But even on the attack with an Arc 170, the front or the back, you're adding that blink result as long as you've got that focus or you've got some sort of reroll ability.
Yeah, you need a reroll. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not bad to do. And in the target lock, every Rebel ship has a target lock except for the attack shuttle. Yeah. So, as long as you're kind of just focusing on that, I think that's pretty cool.
I would say if target lock is the only thing that you're planning on modifying this dice with, then there's probably better ways to spend your 5 points in your crew slot. Just generally speaking.
I don't know. I think it's a neat idea. I think the thing is, it's because a lot of the tournament folk talk about the averages through the full, 12 hours of gameplay. But with Finn, he increases the potential. And that's what I think is
that
cool.
means.
So he adds a die result. So maybe
so the max
right. He increases the max damage, the potential damage that you could do is what he increases. And so while you're, maybe your averages are about the same or even a little less than what they could be, but the potential damage output overall gets upped a bit. So hey, let's say you roll really well. You roll, then use target lock, and boom, 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 boom. You've got 5 hits. Then hey, you're doing well because you attacked at range 1 or something. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's potential. Or if you've got rage somewhere in there, or you've got some sort of way to get these rerolls in. It's not. I like people on the forum saying he's crap unless you use him with Rey, and I think I agree with J-Bot that there's potential to you could build something to work with.
I haven't seen anything that I thought it was worth it to have the Finn crew on outside of Rey so far. But because I one of the things that I think with this is that in order for it to be worth it, I think you need to have rerolls on defense and offense. For Finn to really be worth it, and the rerolls on defense, those are the hard ones to come by. That's just what I think. But
yeah, so I do know he's priced to work with Ray, but and there's not as much option for him. But I think that people might be able to find something. Not quite as cool as Ray, but yeah. I do understand what you're saying, but I think for non-tournament stuff, you could probably stick him on. All right, do we want to go on to, say, Chewbacca?
Sure. So Chewbacca is pilot skill. We have Chewbacca pilot here, and he is pilot skill 5, and he has a different ability from the old Chewie. I guess I'm not sure what we should call the original Chewie. Maybe original Chewie and Heroes Chewie.
Or we can call I don't know.
Classic Chewie.
Classic Chewie. I like
Classic Chewie versus
New Chewie.
New Chewie might work. Heroes Chewie is pretty specific though. I kind of like that version.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this Chewie in this preview, new Chewie, Heroes Chewie, whatever, is pilot skill 5, like same pilot skills before.
He didn't improve at all.
Yada yada. His pilot ability is interesting. So it is after another friendly ship at range 1 to 3 is destroyed, but has not fled the battlefield, you may perform an attack. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that, him taking revenge. This is fluffy also. So when, when Han Solo gets shish kebabbed on the bridge by Kylo Ren, Chewbacca has this moment of revenge, and I think that's what they're trying to channel here.
And you can build a list that actually has like a lot of, I don't know, Z95s, a lot of headhunters.
Right, so that's what people always have been going to so far in thinking about Chewie in a list. And I'd say the consensus out there from the other podcasts that I've been listening to is that probably not worth it, but interesting. So that's like the competitive consensus out there. But what I'm more interested in is how does this card affect scenarios and epic play?
Oh, epic. I was thinking about epic.
Epic play. This becomes a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
You could go crazy.
And so imagine like Rage. Rage works until the end, until the end of the round.
That's thematic too.
Yeah.
He rages out. He could really do some damage.
Yeah, so Rage would let him get 2 rerolls for every attack until the end of the round. And if here's a round where there's like a whole bunch of Z95s getting shot up.
Right. Just fill out the rest of your list with a bunch, a lot of Z95s, which is pretty good in Epic.
Yeah. He's got a turret ship. He can shoot 360.
Yeah. It could be quite good. And maybe send him on on the flank or something, so that if they tried to, shoot him down, they would have to turn away from the main battle.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's good ways you could leverage this card, this ship.
You know what? Even Rey and Finn in Epic would be good because the number, like if Finn, if they're facing the bulk of the enemy, that's a lot of rerolls.
Right, and it's easier to have someone in Arc, in Epic.
Yeah,
have somebody in Arc, because there's more ships out there.
Yeah,
there'll be ships outside your Arc too, but you're probably gonna have something in Arc.
It just made me wonder. Totally out of the blue, a new crew card that Scum can come out with, Black Kershank or whatever his name is, Kershak. And he can be a crew card that had some sort of rage-like ability because he's the Wookiee with the big scar on his face, who's the bounty hunter Wookiee.
Oh yeah. I don't know his name. I don't know how to pronounce his name either. But,
right. But there's potential for that to be really cool, just as something to feature. But yeah. So J-Bot, what do you think of Chewbacca, the new Chewbacca? New Bacca.
New Bacca.
Yeah.
I honestly I can't see an instance where I would build anything around that, and it to me, obviously as the inexperienced one here, a ship that costs that many points feels like the focus of your list, and I don't see building a list with the intent of getting my other ships destroyed, just to kind of proc this skill from him.
Well, it's not like that's what it feels to get destroyed, but it's
right.
But then you anticipate them getting destroyed.
Right? Yeah, I understand, but it still feels like, well, why would I want to spend the points for that when there's the other Chewbacca? If that makes sense. Like, I feel like the other Chewbacca's got a better kind of just general skill for more often use.
When you deal a face-up damage card, immediately flip it down, so he just basically never takes a crit.
Right, I feel like that has more kind of usability in general, and you're not building a list that's basically built to die around you, versus this one. That's just on the surface. That's what I get when I look at it. Maybe there's some trick to this thing that I'm not aware of, or there's some vampire ships out there that they can die and come back, and you get lots and lots of attacks from it. But that's the only thing I could think. I mean,
I think it sounds fun.
I mean, it sounds interesting and fun, but I don't know that I would ever want to use it in a. I wouldn't build a list for it, even as crazy a list as I've come up with some days. Like, I don't think I would ever build a list to run that specific version of Chewbacca.
I'd like to run it one time, a couple times, just for fun, just to have a good time with it. So, I'd do it.
I guess I look at it like, what can you get in there? 3 more headhunters on top of it, maybe 4, 3.
100 points, yeah.
Without very many upgrades, so say 3 headhunters in it. So at most you're going to get to use it 3 times.
I don't think you necessarily need to pile on a lot of stuff with the new Phantom. Like, you don't have to do engine upgrade, which was a base requirement of the old, Fat Falcon. So if you use 42 points, and you can add on a little bit more, you bump them up to 50. But you don't have to necessarily put a lot on him. And then you can go for 4 Z95s for 48 points. So let's say you can even bump, you give him 10 points of upgrade, which is, I think, a significant amount. And give him Predator, so basically he's getting rerolls on all those attacks. And then you've got 4 Z95s that you can use for blocking and attacking and all sorts of stuff. So I don't know. I think there's potential. I mean, maybe it's not like crazy, tournament winning, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see, this is just me spitballing, and you guys are a hell of a lot better at spitballing than I am. It looks like there is a new card that we haven't gotten to yet that is a modification called Smuggling Compartment, but it's only usable on that ship. But it lets you, put the illicits on it. Right. If they had that equivalent, and this is just me spitballing, if they had that equivalent, but I could put it on any ship, which I don't understand why this doesn't exist, why can I not have essentially, I'm burning this one obviously has a specifics in that you can actually add an additional, you don't lose the modification slot, as long as the new modification is 3 points or less. What I don't understand is why there is not a general one that is, you give up your mod slot to get an illicit slot. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying that is, hey, I've got rebels who just happen to have illicit headhunters, for example. They're the exact same ship. The only difference is I've given up the modification slot to get an illicit versus just getting an illicit kind of in there as a freebie. And then I could see kind of playing this combination of, hey, I'm going to put the I call them suicide switches, but the ones where they do point of damage when they blow up.
Dead man switch.
Man switches. You put, then it's like, I can run Chewie with a bunch of headhunters with dead man switches, and then I am kind of just caution to the wind but you can't do that because they don't have this card that I think would be cool. When I saw that upgrade, I'm like, oh, they finally got this, so I can finally, for example, put illicits on my Hawk, like that sort of thing.
I think they should have made the illicits. I think they should have made the smuggling compartment available for the Rebel Hawk as well. With the Rebel fighters and the ships that are sort of part of the standard Rebel military, thematically, I wouldn't say.
Well, the reason I said is because I wouldn't call it a smuggling compartment.
But even if they had something else
replacement, just a modification.
Yeah,
like this one has a very specific. You gain the illicit, and you can still equip one modification as long as it's 3 points or less. So essentially, you've given up half of your cargo bay to.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get the space. I get the space side of thing. just having the space for a smuggling compartment. That's an issue too. But I'm saying that the rebels are too straight-laced to let their A-wing pilots have glitter stem.
Right.
See, now you're cutting corners here because wait a minute, they let Han in and he's flying
a
smuggling ship for crying out loud.
Yeah, they I mean, like
they'll take whatever they can.
He's sort of like chafed under there. I don't think they knew, I don't think they would have let him do smuggling runs of glitter stem.
Yeah, like they would have the moral high ground, and I think that they're trying to have an effective military. They would have ex-military officers, and they're like, you can't have druggies on this team. You've got to stop. And we should go ahead and actually talk about that card. So the whole smuggling compartment, it is for the YT 1300, YT 2400 only, modification limited. You gain the illicit upgrade icon. You may equip one additional modification upgrade that costs 3 or fewer squad points. And I think that matters because that basically means no engine upgrade.
Right.
And basically with how the whole system worked before with fat turrets is you've got your engine upgrade, you bait the enemy to commit towards facing you, you do your 2 hard turn, and then you do your 3 boost, and you're out of their firing arc, but you can fire them all day long. And now suddenly their whole formation's got to try to turn around and come after you as you've got the same thing with the engine upgrade, and all you're doing is leading them a merry chase while you fire at them, with your turret, and that's the whole game. And it got old.
Right. You could still do that, but you're not going to have a smuggling compartment if you want to.
Right.
So.
But there's some really cool things you can do. So basically, like another illicit that they mentioned right after the smuggling compartment, Burnout Slam, large ship only. Your action bar gains the Slam action bar. After you perform a Slam action card, discard this card.
So it's a single-use slam.
Single-use slam. But get this. So let's say you have the new Falcon title. And in fact, there's either some of the other people I was thinking about running this with, but you have the new Falcon title where you do the 3 bank and you get the turnaround. Imagine doing like you go 3, and then you do a slam, you do a 3 bank, and you flip around and you're facing the other direction now. So like in one turn, you're going, you know how the movement is with a slam, and particularly large base ships. You're going 3, and then the large base, which is like the 2 extra ships. So now you just went 5, basically. And then you're going to go again. You're going to go 3, and go beyond that, and you're turning around. So in one turn, you just went like how far across the board? You just went like 8 spaces across the board, and you're facing the other direction now. I mean, the things you can do with Smuggling Compartment and Slam and the new Falcon title are just kind of crazy.
Absolutely. You can really zip around the board with this once. But
yeah, once.
That one time.
Yeah.
But man, you can go, I mean, rules of 11. So if both of you move a total of 11 within one turn, you're in firing range from starting at the edges of the board. So basically, you can go like 8 spaces. I mean, it's crazy. You can really jack half the board in one move and be facing the other direction at the end of it. It's really absurd. I don't know. The potential to that is just downright crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's just one illicit that you can put on these things. You can put any of the existing illicits also. So you might see glitter stem. We might see black market slicer tools, maybe.
Yeah, but I think even that setup with the slam, and the one pilot that I was going to get to first, before we got into this, before J-Bot jumped it, but new Han. Or Han.
Yeah.
Han Solo. The new guy. Basically, when you are... Have you read this, J-Bot? I'm just curious. Have you even seen this?
No, I haven't.
All right. When you are placed... when you are placed during setup, you can be placed anywhere in the play area beyond range 3 of enemy ships. So basically, he's PS9. He's one of the last people on the board. You don't have to put him in deployment zone. You can put him freaking anywhere you want as long as he's outside of range 3 of an enemy ship. So
good to you?
It sounds interesting. I guess that one turn of kind of shock is interesting.
Well,
it just makes me wonder tactically how well it can be used. I mean, I guess you can technically put it down their sideline. Ooh, I'm right behind all of their stuff, sorta.
You know how everybody deploys in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it, but I guess at the same time, it feels like you're also kind of sticking him out there on the end of the the spear. Basically, the pointy end of the spear, and at the number of points he costs, he is your list. He is the meat of your list.
A little over half your list, but here's what I'm thinking. So first off, yeah, you are sticking him out there, and you are making him vulnerable. But that, to me, is where the slam comes in. The slam of the new title, the Burnout Slam. So basically, you can... Because let's say you're facing like a TIE swarm, a TIE formation. And, they're set up, and they're going... And your list is boom across from them with your other 45 points or whatnot. And then boom, Han comes up, and if they ignore him, he just comes up behind the whole freaking formation and starts picking people off. Or your whole formation starts turning when they're not expecting it in their own deployment zone to face you, while the rest of the list comes up behind him and hits him. And let's say, and you can just really mess with people, with a ship like this where you're shooting 360 and you can do engine upgrade or whatnot if you want to. But even if you go with the Burnout Slam, let's say, they happen to get you into a tight spot. Boom, Burnout Slam. You're now freaking the other side of their entire TIE formation or somewhere, and you're facing the other direction. Like, you just got them to commit towards you. So then they're ignoring what the rest of your list, which is encroaching in on them. And then bam, 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 you just slam the heck out of there. And you're completely on the other half of the board facing a different direction, and you're out of their firing arc. Like, you could really mess with people. And if you've got something that takes, like a formation that takes, time to plan and whatnot, and you're just suddenly screwing them up, you can really mess with people with this.
I think the real trick is going to be making him a credible threat by himself to a formation. And I think that it's going to be, it's going to be tricky to make that happen. Also, that said, if you're putting him on the table last or next to last, you can deploy him at just outside range 3 of an enemy ship, but you can also just put him in your own deployment zone, right? That's always your choice.
Right, yeah.
So, if you fly New Han, you don't feel obligated to stick him out there all by himself. You could just, use this sort of as a psychological warfare type deal where you force your opponent to take a less than optimal deployment just because you could put Han to exploit a more standard deployment.
Right, and so one thing people could do is spread out a bit more just to ensure that you're within the range 3 and all that. And so you can really start mess with people psychologically, and mess with deployment, and then you start off in your own deployment zone. Or maybe just outside your deployment zone.
The trick is making him a credible threat.
I don't think that's too terribly hard.
I don't know. I mean, Jabez, it's a good point. If he's out there by himself, he's out there by himself. And
the thing for me that I've learned with large base ships, especially the ones with 1 agility or less, they die fast if they get focus fired. And that's what worries me about something like this. And at the same time, it's a one-use thing. It is, you better make it, that master stroke better be great. And is the psychological warfare worth the points to me? I mean, it's not that many more points than other ships, but is it worth it for that one chance? And of kind of messing them up. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. In my mind, I'm not. It's a neat skill. It would be fun to just mess with people with, but I don't know that I would take it very seriously, I guess, if I was competing against it.
Well, because part of the thing is that you're setting up so late, and that you already know where most of them are going to be committed and facing and such. So you can position yourself in a way that it's not necessarily easy for this entire list to just kind of swing towards you. And also, just with the whole thing before, Fat Han, engine upgrade Han, he was the guy who dodged darks like crazy. Too hard turned and a boost, boop, he's gone, and he can still do that in this scenario. So I always think at this point he doesn't even necessarily, it's not going to be as easy to really pin him down, because he's one of those ships that was really hard to pin down. And if you go either with the engine upgrade version or if you go with the slam version, I think you really could be able to make him annoying, and maybe not even so much utterly deadly, but you're totally screwing with him while the rest of your list kind of comes in and does stuff. But I do think shooting 360, you give him Gunner, or you give him Predator, or Predator and Gunner. I guess he doesn't need it because he's not. Oh, he doesn't get the rerolls, so he probably would go with Predator or something, or Gunner. And he could really do some damage. But I don't know. I think it's one of those things that could be a game changer.
Where it is a game changer is in any sort of scenario.
Yeah.
So this really...
Well, yeah, for setup, yeah. This goes right at our surprise attack thing we seem to have discussed here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thematic angle of this card, is that Han just pops up out of nowhere. Like he does in the movie.
You might have to limit this card in a lot of scenarios where it's basically like, destroy the target, but you got to get to him first. Whoop, I'm right there.
Yeah,
that does make for an interesting HotAC thing. If I get his pilot ability, that means I can wait till everybody's set up, and then I can put my ship right here behind all the enemy guys.
Yeah. That is true. HotAC, you'd have to be, end game, end of the campaign, PS9. But
yeah, you have to be pretty high up there, but it's still funny.
Yeah, you could really mess with people with the whole AI and that. That'd be pretty fun. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's pretty neat. I think it's pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff you could do with it. I think there's a lot of potential. I don't know. It's maybe not like, whoa, it's so broken. I don't think that. And I think you can stop it. And it is a risk, but I do think it's one of those things that could really work in your favor if you're good at it and the other guy is not.
Yeah, I just wonder. I go back to is it worth I know it's only one more point than Ray, but it's still, is it worth it to me for what is essentially a one use and discard type of ability? And if you're just using it for psychological and not actually going to deploy him in a advantageous position, possibly advantageous, then it seems like it's even more worthless, if that makes sense, because was to stop essentially your opponent saying, oh crap, he's right there, I'm just gonna take off and leave him and just ignore him for a turn, because he's already he's at the edge of range 3, which means he either has to burn everything he's got to catch up, or he's just going to be left behind again by a lot of stuff, especially Imperials. Like, a lot of times when I see people play Imperials, they just, I'm just going to go 4 forward and just, goodbye, Mr. Han. Unless he's taking engine upgrade and things like that.
You can't really burn away from a YT-1300 or any large base ship. I mean, that's a fast ship because it's a large base.
Yeah.
It's much faster than a TIE fighter.
Because just let's say you both do 2, you both do a 2 forward, but the Falcon's basically going double that distance because of his base, so even let's say the TIE fighters go 5, you just go a 3 forward and he's gone the same speed as you.
I think it's one base length more, but so 4
it's only the one,
but still.
All right,
but still.
Yeah.
If he has like a booster, if he has a boost, that's huge.
Yeah.
So. Right, but at the same time, you're starting to lay in a lot more points on parts just to
engine upgrade.
Well, I know, but you're starting to here's 4 more points to lay into to essentially. I need to plan ahead for I'm going to be at range 3 and to get into.
Engine upgrade is definitely worth it.
Oh no, it is on large base ships,
and it's something that you pretty much.
I feel like these are one of those. Put your money where your mouth is. I want to see Jim. Like, for all the talk, I think this is great. I want to see it, Jim. put the ship and the list together, put it on the table, and let's do it. Because to me, there's all these, it's great. I think it'd be really great. I want to see it because I don't think it will. I really don't think it will. I know I'm being the hater of the group all of a sudden for, other podcasts saying, oh, that's crap. But I don't think this is even a good casual one. That's what I fall into. It's like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to build it for a very specific theme. And other than that, it's essentially I've put 60 points into Han to make him something interesting to play off of his one use ability, and that's just the setup. And I have to plan that my opponent isn't saying, okay, well, he's got one major threat on the table and everything else is essentially just what I can find to fill in the space. And I got two choices. I can set up and, Han, he's range 3 for me. Well, guess what? He's in target range of me in a turn because everything in the game has a 90-degree turn. Everything has a 90-degree turn. And that's assuming they don't have turrets. So, look, there's Han. All my TLTs, that guy. I'm just going to aim all of my TLTs at that guy. There's Han, and I got TIE fighters. All right, everybody, sharp 1, sharp 2, just bank in on Han because he's going to be right in our face for one turn. And now he's out by himself with 60% of your list standing there staring in front of the other guy's entire list. So he better be able to punch through a good chunk of it before he dies, But I think he's got the tools to get out of arcs. I think he's got the tools that
not that first turn. Good. If everybody does the one hard turn, I think he could right. Actually. He could with the engine boost and get out of the way, or he could do the slam and totally blow past your entire formation, and suddenly, you're facing nothing.
The trick with the slams. I know you haven't used them, but the trick with the slam is you pull it. You can only do the exact same speed again, but you have to also turn the dial. You don't just say, you know what, I'm going to try and do. Nope, that doesn't fit. It's like doing a whole nother maneuver. And I've played a lot of K-Wings. It's not as easy as people think to just, I can do this and this and I can hop over your crew. It's like, no, you'd be surprised at how tough that is, especially with a large base ship to not bump people and essentially screw yourself. And if you bump one thing in a formation of 4 or 5 things that are pointing in your direction with that ship, you're done, man. You're toast with one agility. I'm just telling you, I think it's a great theme. I think it's a great, it fits the Han character. I would rather have the old Han one. I would rather have that one than spend the points on this for a one use, might work or might just get me destroyed ability. I guess is the thing for me. It's same reason I don't play Greedo, if that makes sense. But same reason I won't use a Greedo cart, because there's a better chance in my mind that it's going to blow up in my face and it's actually going to have any effect on my opponent.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if people want to play it, they're welcome to. I just don't think it's going to be as effective as they think. And you're thinking of essentially the perfect example of, I'm going to put my guy range 3 on his baseline in his deployment zone away from him. If you're at any other angle from that, then you're going to really be easy to get in arc, I guess is kind of what I look at.
Yeah, well, I guess he does at least live up to his name of Solo. He's out there solo.
I guess if you throw Lone Wolf and all this other stuff onto him, maybe you can turn him into a very interesting tank.
Lone Wolf would be interesting.
Yeah, you could probably make him an interesting tank and see what you could get out of it. I guess Lone Wolf, you could throw Finn on there just add more points and more things that people hate onto the ship. And
I guess we need to
get out of it.
Need to get one of those guys who played in the fat Han days who can actually, do the whole dancing Han a lot better. Because I've never flown the Falcon. So
I've never flown fat Hans. I've only destroyed them, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I've never actually flown my Falcon. So I may not be the best person to try it out with, but I think it'd be fun. I'd probably try it. I'm not actually getting this expansion. I'm short on cash as it is post surgery.
Well, that's a totally different. That's a totally different discussion. Anyone here getting this expansion? I'm not.
I'm not.
Well, you're getting it. Okay, so are you getting it because you like the cards that are in, or are you getting it because you're a completionist?
Probably both.
Because I think that's what. And don't get me wrong, I really like the color scheme on the X-wing. But for me, I've already got a YC-1300, so I don't know that I need
and I've never used it. So I've had it since Wave 2, and I've used it, had other people fly it in the trench run scenario, which was Blast, but I've never flown it. And I've let other people borrow it, so they've used it, but I have never flown my Falcon ever.
There's a ton of great cards in the set that I really like. I don't want another ship that's just going to take up a lot of space in my storage.
Yeah, there is that. It's just like, I just don't want another Falcon. I might, if I'm playing casual games, be printing out the cards and playing with that, just because we need to try some of these out. But I'm low on cash. I don't really have a lot of hobby money these days.
Yeah, I'm guessing there'll be a scenario in this pack. At least it looks like there's a few fiddly tokens that look scenario related in some way.
Yeah,
every box that has like a large spaceship in it, or is this size or
that's
higher,
what I was thinking.
has a mission in it.
I'll be more than happy to try that out.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, definitely try that.
I think it's gonna be some kind of smuggling mission.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
I wouldn't be surprised. Did this one came with the cargo, or at least we're pretty sure it comes with the one where you drop the cargo template, right?
No,
this doesn't have it.
That's the. Are you talking about the dead Ewoks floating in space?
Well, yes, but I mean the. I guess that was one for me. That's always the classic. Is like, I mean, he kind of went out with the garbage, right? So shouldn't he have some form of garbagey, thing he could dump behind him? And since they created that card, I was like, oh, this has got to be in the new expansion. And then now I'm looking, I don't see it.
No, that was actually. You're talking about the one that was in the Shadowcaster.
It's in the other one. It's in the Shadowcaster, but I still was like, oh, this is the perfect one to just throw it in there with it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Rules are already there. Just toss it in there.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah. Cool.
I guess you could. How much? That was an illicit upgrade. How much did that illicit cost? I don't have it right in front of me.
I can pull up on my.
You might be able to fit it in there with the fancy new upgrade card.
Rigged cargo chute.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Too.
Yeah, 1 point.
Oh, so I guess you can. You just have to buy 2 large ships in order to do
it. You just have to buy another one. All right. So I think that about covers it. We haven't missed anything in that article that came out that we.
You know what? We actually did. We haven't talked about Ray Crew. We should touch on that real fast. So is Ray Crew. It's 2 points, and it reads: at the end of the start of the end phase, you may place one of your ship's focus tokens on this card. At the start of the combat phase, you may assign one of these tokens to your ship. So she's like a sort of like a Moldy Crow style card where you can store focus tokens and give them back to yourself in the combat phase.
Oh yeah, and that could be good for, say, like an outflanking Han who wants to bank a focus for a turn or something.
Yeah. Anything where you have time to bank up focus tokens, it's good. It's good if you have a focus token that you don't use at the end of the turn. You don't lose it like you normally would. That's really cool.
That is cool. Because like you don't end up needing it because like all your attacks, either they all hit or they all missed or whatever.
Yeah, it's just a really good card for your action economy. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think it's totally worth it.
It is cool. I did forget that. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I think there's some neat stuff, and I'd have fun trying it, but I don't see me actually getting it. Just because I'm short, mostly because I'm short on cash, to be honest. If I had the cash, I'd get it. But my surgery was expensive.
Yeah, back to tanks those aren't cheap.
Oh, no, they're not. And maybe one last little thing here. Jesse Metcalf posted while we were recording about a HotAC game that he did on the Facebook page. So, hey, Jesse, they actually won. It was the one with the GR-75 and the bombers and the decimator coming in.
Oh, cool.
The GR-75 that plowed through the minefield that is now needing repair.
Oh, yeah, geez. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. He said he you had victory in 6 turns. They must have done do the action to boost your chance for energy, and actually gotten it, because I think we did it a few times and just did not get the energy. So he finished in 6 turns, and he's not next to him Cloak and Dagger, which I think is the one with the Phantom.
No, not Phantoms. Yeah. So there is one last thing, and then I'll let you guys bring us home. The contest is still open. So please send us to our email address. It's just the.shuttle.tydirium@gmail.com. Pilot cards for the Shuttle Tydirium, one for each of us, if you don't mind. We've had at least one entry that I'm aware of, which was funny. I'll give it that much for now, without giving away my hand of who I like so far. But please keep sending them in. We're going to try and make a decision this upcoming week, so we can get the prize support out to somebody, whoever wins, pretty quickly. But once again, we don't need graphics or anything fancy. Just quick. Hey, here's the pilot Jim and his pilot ability, and Phil, Jake, and J-Bot. Obviously, J-Bot's the best, so make sure you make that one really good.
PS12.
PS13. But yeah, that's all we need. Obviously, the funnier the better, just because that's how we like it. It doesn't need to be a serious, super serious ability. Although if it is, it's cool too. But yeah, please send those once again to the show's email address, the.shuttle.tydirium@gmail.com, and we'll hopefully have some cool cards to discuss and joke about in our next episode.
Yeah, and get one of those awesome broken token boxes. I did link to that in the Facebook page and onto the FFG. I should probably link to it on the podcast site as well. I'm kind of slack about that, but yeah, excellent. So it's a pretty cool product, and you can get it for free by making some jokes. How awesome is that? So
yeah, how hard can it be, people? Come on,
right? Amuse us, dance, monkey, dance. I mean, win a prize, send us stuff. All right. So with that, I think I do see the beacons coming up. We are approaching Endor. So thanks again, everybody, for listening to the Shuttle Tydirium podcast. Mellow episode without Jake and just hanging out. Jake, we miss you. And talk to everybody next week. Thank you so much.
Hooray.
Hey.